Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith, Chevrolet, GMC, and Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Braves On Deck. Really do appreciate it. While you're here, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. And, of course, with your Atlanta Braves, who are coming off their 5th series victory in a row, and it comes with a sweep against the first place Twins. What a series this was, and what an offensive series this was. The Braves outscore their opponents in Minnesota 23-13. So across 3 games, the Braves were able to put up 23 runs. 5 tonight was plenty for Chris Sale. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. He looked really good. Unfortunately, could not go scoreless, but he still had a really great appearance. And really, you have to credit the offense for the first 2 wins. Both Fried and Schwellenbach looked really good as well, but they were unable to go deep. Fried, 5 innings pitched, Schwellenbach 4 2/3, but both 1 run or less in Schwellenbach's case. So really good series here. Again, most happy about the offense. We kind of knew what we were going to get out of Chris Sale, or at least we knew what we were going to expect out of Chris Sale. In terms of the other 2 pitchers, this Minnesota team's really good. Credit to the Braves just getting some wins, whether that be through bats or through pitching. For tonight, I think it was both. 5 runs scored for the Braves and only 1 run scored for Minnesota. Hard to ask for much more than that. And of course, here we are. We are now 5 games back in the division for the NL East. The Phillies losing tonight in a big way against the Astros. I know some of you guys are out there, watching the games, and you, of course, keeping an eye on our competition here in the NL East. They lose tonight 10-0. Shutout loss that ended up with a position player on the mound. So, credit to the Braves. They are now 5 games back. They've won 8 out of their last 10. The Phillies, in comparison, have only won 5. So, in terms of who has the momentum entering the next series, it's definitely the Braves, for sure. They have, again, 5 series in a row that you've seen the Braves now be victorious in. Some have been better than others. There's no doubt about that. But in that 5 series stretch, the Phillies are included. The Braves took 2 of 3 of that series against Philadelphia. Now, that was at home. This next series against Philadelphia will be in Philadelphia. So the challenge does exist in that regard. But again, just want to cap off this part of the show with saying, look, the Braves are on a roll. There's no doubt about it. And it's been a long time since they've looked this good, and they've done it with pieces that I don't think any of us expected at the beginning of the year or halfway through the year. Whit Merrifield, a 5-hit game, not tonight, but in the game before. Gio Urshela continues to be really good. Ramon Laureano is finding his footing. But one guy that we've been waiting on to heat up pretty much all year long has been Matt Olson, and he looked really good in this series. 6 for 14. That's good for a 438 average across the 3 games. His best game was, of course, the first one, 3 for 5 with a homer. Look, I mean, if he can heat up, and really I think a part of that is having people in the lineup behind him to give him some kind of protection that he has not really had, at least consistently this year. Ramon Laureano was behind him tonight. He was 2 for 4. Michael Harris, is back in the lineup. That's a good sign. Of course, after his almost injury the other day, getting hit by a pitch against the Nationals, of all teams, worse to get hurt against the Nationals. But really, I feel like the Braves are in a good place. There's no doubt about that. I think as we move forward, it's a why not us mentality. And I really think that, look, we have a chance. The Braves have a chance to make a run here. You're 5 games back. You got 4 games head-to-head against the Phillies, who do lead the division. Now, with any series, a sweep would be great, right? If you get the sweep here against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, not only would you only be 1 game back in the division and really right back in the mix for, for what you intended to be at the beginning of the year, 7 consecutive time division champs. That's what the goal was at the beginning of the year, and you'd be right there back in the mix for that. but you'd also really have a handle on who has confidence going into the playoffs, right? Because the Braves do lead the season series right now, I believe 6-3. This series could decide who wins that, and having more wins than losses against a team that you may see come the playoffs, or you may see, you may be going up against for the division at the end of the year, that's going to give you some kind of confidence. And you'd really lose that if you were to get swept here, obviously. I don't think you lose it if you split. I think you lose it if you lose the series 3-1. But this series is going to be pretty even. I was taking a look at the pitching matchups and that kind of thing, and really the fact that this is in Philadelphia definitely gives advantage to Philly. And they've been a really good team. What doesn't give them, I kind of alluded to it earlier, is the fact that they haven't exactly been playing well. And if you follow Philadelphia fans on social media, they're feeling it. Note about that, no pun intended. They're definitely feeling it right now. They've been, offensively they've been having misfires. Tonight is a good example, shutout against the Astros. Pitching has been fairly good this year, all things considered, and they're not really beat up, right now. So all signs, all things that are, you would look at and say, all right, who's going to win this series? The Braves are as banged up as they've ever been right now. No doubt about that. Now, good that Ozuna didn't get hurt against the Nationals. Good that Michael Harris didn't get hurt against the Nationals. But, anybody that looks at these two teams is going to look at, okay, well, the Braves are missing quite a bit of their stars. No doubt about that. Right now, just in the peripheral, you have Austin Riley out. You have Ozzie Albies out. You have A.J. Minter out. That's not even including Ronald Acuna, Spencer Strider, so on, right? So the injuries are still a factor. But in terms of, again, who has the momentum, who has the right things working to be successful right now, I really feel like it is the Braves. So after the break, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the pitching matchups. We're going to talk about that series in Philadelphia in depth. I'm really looking forward to that and looking forward to what you guys got to say about it. But all in all, right now, there's a lot to be excited about in Atlanta. Things are working like they should. And with all things considered, what the Braves have been through this year, that is quite a blessing. I think Whit Merrifield has been a great addition. I think Gio Urshela has been a great addition. We did a video on those two guys specifically earlier this week. A lot of views on that. Really appreciate that. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch it. It's on the channel right now. Ramon Laureano has been a great addition. Of course, Jorge Soler at the deadline. He had a homer tonight. He added a big boost to the lineup as well. But a lot of guys that were DFA'd, designated for assignment, we picked them up, and all of a sudden they're really good out of nowhere, and I think that's because they're getting to play every day. Look, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and the Braves are really profiting off of that. So all in all, they're in a good place. I hope it continues. Our pitching has really been our backbone this year. Chris Sale in the rotation has been our backbone in a large part. The bullpen, they've definitely had their moments where they haven't been good, but they have also been really, really good. As a pitching staff, as a whole, as a pitching staff, I believe before tonight they were ranked number 1 in strikeouts for all of Major League Baseball. That's a pretty good stat, especially when you consider how banged up they are. So, again, when we get back, we're going to go in depth with the pitching matchups and just talk about who is going to be favored each game of these next 4 and talk about what's it going to take for the Braves to be successful across the next 4 games in Philadelphia, because what a challenge that will be.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile.
Just a reminder, guys, if you would, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course, with your Atlanta Braves. So, let's talk about these next 4 games against Philadelphia in Philadelphia, because that's always intimidating, especially after the past couple of postseasons. We're not even going to go down that road, but we all know what a challenge it is to play in Philadelphia around Philly fans. And, it's going to be a challenge this week, no doubt about it. Now, the stakes are a little lower. You have a long ways to go before the end of the season, a whole month or so before the playoffs. So it's not exactly the postseason feel that I think we're all going to be hoping for. But this is about as good as it gets for early September, late August, early September. This is about as close as it gets to a postseason feel for that time of year, because these are two teams who are going head-to-head in the division. It's a 4-game series, and of course, the Braves are on the road in it, and it's going to feel like the playoffs. I think that everything's going to be magnified. Everything is going to be, circled out and looked at, and, by fans and by, broadcasters. I mean, this is going to feel, to me, like the postseason, and it should feel like the postseason. These are two of the best teams in baseball, and these are the games that matter, right? This is probably the first of the games, I think, that really dictate where you go come postseason, come, playoff time, right? For the Braves, you have the possibility of being a 7 consecutive division champ, or you have the possibility of maybe winning the NL East and having that spot in the postseason, because those two go hand in hand. But this is all about where the Braves will become the postseason. Now, a lot of folks out there, including myself, have flirted with the idea of, I wouldn't really mind the Braves being a wild card team based on how the past 2 years have gone. Maybe they'd be better suited as a wild card team to keep in rhythm and not take a week off and that kind of thing. And I'm all for that line of thinking. I don't even disagree with that. But I don't think that's where the Braves mentality will be. I don't think that's how they're going to think. I definitely don't think that's how Brian Snitker is going to think. They're going to do everything in their power to win the division. I find that I would find it concerning if it was anything else, right? On the outside, we look at it as, well, 2 years it didn't work out, and maybe we need to try for, just going as a wild card and hoping for the best, right? Hoping for a deep run as a wild card team like we have seen the Phillies do, or we've seen the Diamondbacks do. And all that's possible. I don't think that it's impossible at all. But I think that the Braves are going to pride themselves on giving it their all, giving it their best shot, and beating the Phillies for the NL East, because it's still attainable, which is hard to believe. It really is, because when you look at, again, what all the Braves have lost this year, we've talked about it extensively on this channel. It's really surprising, right? Because back in 2022, when the Braves were 10.5 games back, they hadn't lost all that much, right? In fact, they got stuff back. Ronald Acuna came back that year, and he wasn't all of what he would be in 2023, but he was still a stellar player in the outfield. And nobody was really banged up, all things considered, not like this year. This year, I feel like if the Braves were fully healthy, the division would be an afterthought. I feel like we'd be kind of back to where we were in 2023, or at least much more competitive throughout the year for the division. I think the Phillies got off to a really big lead early, but they have a tougher schedule down the stretch, and I think they're starting to see that. We talked about that earlier in the year. I looked at it and said, well, hold on a second, because we're getting all the West Coast teams out of the way now, and come August, September, the Phillies are going to have to face the Dodgers and the Padres and all these difficult teams. And meanwhile, we're going to be kind of relegated to the East Coast in large part. And then they're going to have to face us in early September, that being this week. So I kind of saw that coming, that drop in play at some point, because there was no way the Phillies were going to keep that early pace that they were on, as good as a team as they are, which they are. But they were also doing that against a lot of teams who weren't that great, right? And that's not to take anything away. It's just to say there's no way you're going to keep the pace later in the year that you had early in the year. The Braves, on the other hand, got off to a slow start because they were facing a lot of those good teams. And, being the Braves starting out this year, doing all of what they did in 2023, you got to think that all those good teams had a target on Atlanta's back, right? They were looking forward to that series weeks in advance, because they knew, as well as we did, that, it was going to be a good offense, a tough offense, and they were going to be well prepared for it. And I'll say this, to me, a lot of folks have been saying, well, the Phillies are just better this year. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. They're a good team, no doubt about that. They've been a good team for 3 or 4 years now. They're still a very good team, a great team. I think they could win the World Series. That said, they aren't better than the Braves. If that's the case, why do the Braves have double the amount of wins head-to-head this year? A lot can change this week. I hear that. But I don't believe they are outright better. I think the Braves have had a tough time being consistent because, frankly, they haven't had a consistent roster. They haven't had consistent anything really outside of pitching. And that's mainly just in the starting rotation. The bullpen has had injuries to it. And really, the Braves have been bleeding from everywhere. The Phillies, all things considered, they've had short stints of injuries. I remember one of the series we faced them, they were missing Schwarber, Real Muto, and Harper. But other than that, they've been pretty healthy this year. And right now, they're starting to wonder, man, or that doubt's creeping in. And if it's not creeping into the players, which I doubt, I think it's definitely creeping into the fan base. For those of you that don't follow some of these guys, I mean, earlier on this year, they were kind of hard to watch because it was nothing but yelling and screaming into the microphone about how great the Phillies are. And now it's more yelling and screaming into the microphone about concern and, I know this team is good, but what are they doing? Why is Harper and Schwarber going 0 for 4 multiple days in a row? You're starting to see that, and you're starting, we're familiar with this, but you're starting to see a little bit of the fan base talk about maybe getting rid of Rob Thompson or questioning decisions he's making. Sound familiar, anybody? I don't think they are a better team. I will not sign up for that. I especially don't think they're a better team than what our opening day roster featured. And I'll stand by that any day of the week. And you think about that, man, the Braves roster opening day was substantially better than Philadelphia, at least when it comes to performing across 162. Forget the postseason. Day in, day out, that is a better roster. I don't think there's a question there. And you think about the fact that the Braves payroll is where it is and the Philly payroll is where it is. It's to me, Atlanta is a better run organization as a whole. I think Philadelphia has kind of pieced together some really good stars, really good pitching staff, but I don't think they've grown it through the organization. And to be fair, in recent years, the Braves really haven't either, right? What the Braves have right now is a product of what they had in the farm system a decade ago at this point. So it's kind of modern baseball at this point for the Braves. But the Phillies really kind of piece this together. Very few of their stars are Philadelphia through and through. Not even Bryce Harper is Philadelphia through and through. That said, none of that matters this week, right? The Braves, this is where they're looking at it, right? They're looking at it going, all right, if we can get at least 3 wins out of this series, that'll give us 2 games on the Phillies, right? That'll put us at 3 games back in theory at the end of the series. If they can get all 4, they would be 4 games up on the Phillies. So all in all, you look at that and you go, man, we got a chance to put a real dent in that 5-game lead and really have a chance come the end of this month, being September. So I really think that the Braves are going to go all out here. I think they're going to give their best shot. One thing I am upset about, and I'm going to say this before we talk about the pitching matchups, I'm almost upset that we saw Chris Sale pitch tonight. Now, the Braves are doing regular rest. They're doing regular rotation every 5 days. Unless there's an off day, they're going to throw who they have. And I understand all that. I get why they did it. But I really just wish that Chris Sale would have 1 game against Philadelphia in this series. Because we haven't seen Chris face Philadelphia since early this year. He pitched well, but we haven't seen that in a while. And I'll say this. I almost like that in a way. I'm kind of undecided on it. Because with Chris Sale, if the Phillies have not seen Chris Sale all year long, maybe even since March, it's been a long time. They're going to be pretty blindsided when he's starting game 1 of the NLDS or NLCS and it's Braves and Phillies, right? If we are to face them at some point this year, which it could happen. If that is the case, then I'm all ears to hearing that. But in terms of winning the division or in terms of, staying in the hunt for the wild card, wherever our mentality is right now, I am a little bit wishful thinking in the sense of, man, I'd like to see Chris Sale on the mound, right? I like Charlie Morton. I like Reynaldo Lopez. I like Max Fried. And I like Spencer Schwellenbach. But the reason we signed Chris Sale was so he could face the Phillies and all the big lefties that they feature. There's no doubt about that. That is why we got him. That was the big appeal. That's why we heard about it. That's what made sense about the deal at the time. Now, he's had a great year, Cy Young candidate, probably the front runner still at this point. But the reason we got him was, okay, we got a good pitching staff. We want you for Philadelphia. And we've yet to really see that, at least very much at all. So I'd like to see it, but I also understand kind of the reasoning, and you have to go with who you have available. But again, I'd really like to see it. And I'm looking up Chris Sale's stats against the Phillies this year. He's got a total of 100 plate appearances. They have a .234 batting average against Chris Sale. The only one who has a better opponent batting average than him in the starting rotation that will be taking the mound in this series is Spencer Schwellenbach, and he's got a small sample size, even smaller than Chris Sale's. So I believe Sale might have had 1 or 2 starts against Philadelphia. He's given up 4 homers against them in only 100 at bats. So that's a little concerning. But he's also pitched a lot of innings since then, and I really don't think nobody on their roster really kills him. The best average is .333. That's Harper, and it's only a 1 for 3. So really, not a lot of folks have seen much of Chris Sale in their lineup. So that's going to be big. I think that's going to play a big factor. If the Braves face them in the playoffs, I think that's going to play a big factor. But let's talk about who we do know is taking the mound in this series. These are your probable pitchers. Charlie Morton will take the mound in Game 1 against Christopher Sanchez. Sanchez, a little bit better ERA, 3.51 compared to Morton's 4.24. But really, in terms of their win-loss record, they're pretty even. Morton is 7-7. Christopher Sanchez 9-9. So 500 win percentage for both of those guys. And Christopher Sanchez has not really faced the Braves much at all. He's had very limited appearances against the Braves. Morton has got a decent opponent batting average, .284, but he's been kind of hot and cold. So with Morton, it's kind of what Morton are we going to get? Is it going to be the one who comes out and is lights out, or is it going to be the one who comes out and can't locate and leaves it over the zone and kind of gets knocked around? That'll be the play there. So we'll see what that's going to be come tomorrow. I'm interested to see that one, just to see kind of where Morton is and if he can go one more time and really go against the Phillies here. Reynaldo Lopez, I feel really good about in Game 2. He'll be going up against Ranger Suarez. Reynaldo, since coming off of injury, has had a good start, has had kind of a rocky start, has had a really good start. So I think he's going to be well-versed at this point. He's got a .202 ERA, 7-4 on the year. Phillies hit their batting average against him is .245. Ranger Suarez, .282 ERA on the year, nowhere near where Reynaldo's is, but still really good. He's 11-5 on the year. The Braves hit .273 against him. I think that the offense if they can carry the momentum through Game 1, will look really good in Game 2 against Suarez. And to be honest with you, I think they'll look really good in Game 1 against Sanchez too, because again, he's got limited appearances against them. That could play to really either side, just an unfamiliarity with both sides, right? If you're a batter, you haven't seen much of him, but if you're the pitcher, you haven't faced him. You're only going off of what your other members of the rotation are telling you, what your pitching coach is telling you, what the analytics are telling you. And as a hitter, you're going in, you know what he's going to throw in certain sequences, but you haven't seen the way the ball moves out of his hand and that kind of thing. So that's going to be an interesting watch, in my opinion. Game 3, this is going to be where it starts to get, a little bit of familiar matchups. We're going to see Max Fried versus Zach Wheeler. Max Fried had a rocky year, no doubt about it. 3.50 ERA, that is kind of uncharacteristic for Fried. He's 8-7 on the year. The Phillies hit .310 against him this year. Historically speaking, Fried's been fairly good. lefty pitcher. They got a big lefty at batters as well. So I think, with him, you look for him to just build off a last start, because his first start back from injury was definitely, not who he is. I think he's going to have a good start, and that'll lead to good things for the Braves. Zach Wheeler, though, he's been really good against Atlanta his entire career. He seemed to have killed the Braves over the past few, especially in the postseason. He's 12-6 this year. He's got a 2.74 ERA. The Braves hit 276 against him. That's a game between Fried and Wheeler that I think what you're going to see is, if somebody scores 2 or 3 runs, they may win the game, right? It's all about what pitcher shows up, what pitcher gives the best start, and if the bullpen can hold it down, right? We've had questions concerning the bullpen, no doubt about that, but so have the Phillies. So we'll see what happens there. Game 4, Spencer Schwellenbach will be taking the mound against Aaron Nola. Now, that may sound intimidating, but the Braves have beaten Nola this year. In fact, in his first start against the Braves early on this season, back in March, we got 6 runs on him. So that will be interesting to see if the Braves can muster up enough to score on him. He's got a 3.30 ERA. Schwellenbach, he's 5-6 on the year. He's got a 3.72 ERA, but that's a little inflated, because Schwellenbach, for the first few starts of his major league career, was not who he is now. And I think we all have seen the development, right? His first couple of starts were rocky, but he pitched well, I think. It was more along the lines of he made 1 or 2 mistakes and they were sent out of the yard, right? But he's been able to limit those, and really he's become a solid number 5 pitcher. And I think one that may be around not only this year, but also next. I really think this is a guy who's not just filling in because Strider's out. This is a guy who has really taken the next step and done what they've told him and adjusted to the big league level and really found his way. And I think he's going to look really good in this game, I hope at least. Again, 5-6 on the year against Aaron Nola's 12-6. The experience factor, Aaron Nola is favored there by a long shot, no doubt about it. But if Spencer Schwellenbach can keep the Braves within striking distance at minimum, or keep them in the ballgame, or limit the damage of the Philly offense, it doesn't really matter what Aaron Nola does, right? It's all about what Schwellenbach can do and what happens when the bullpen enters the game, right? I expect that to actually be kind of a low-scoring game. I expect this series to be a fluctuating series. I think Charlie Morton and Christopher Sanchez, I think you may see an 8-game, an 8-run versus a 7-run score, right? I think, Reynaldo Lopez, Ranger Suarez, I think the Braves will win that one just because of who's on the mound for him, and he's looked really good in his last start at least. Or as one of his last starts, I should say. But all in all, I think Reynaldo is going to come in clutch there. I think he's going to be really good. Probably go 6 with 1 run or less. I think Ranger Suarez is going to get beat up a little bit by the Braves offense. I think that, historically speaking, I think we hit him pretty well. So I just expect the Braves to be able to win that one 4-1, I'd say. Max Fried, Zach Wheeler. I'm going, if I had to give an advantage to somebody, I'd be going Zach Wheeler, because Wheeler has had a more complete year this year. But if Fried looks like he did last time we saw him, then, it can really go either way. I think that's going to be a 2-1 game, or, maybe even a 1-0. I think that's going to be a pitcher's duel and a really good one. We'll see what happens, but if I had to give anybody the edge, if I'm honest, I'm going Zach Wheeler. That said, again, if Fried can be the Max Fried that we all know, he can beat anybody on any given day. Spencer Schwellenbach, Aaron Nola, no doubt about it. Aaron Nola's got the experience. He's had a better year. 12-6 compared to 5-6. It's not even close. Aaron Nola's going to get the edge there. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Spencer Schwellenbach was to go 6 innings pitched with no runs scored. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. He's been that good lately. So we'll see what happens. Is it ideal that you have a rookie going up against Aaron Nola? Probably not. I think we'd all rather see Chris Sale in that spot. But, it is what it is. And it's kind of how the cookie is crumbled. So we'll see what happens. I think at this point it's all about, for the Phillies, I mentioned that the Braves they're going to be looking for any way they can get 4 wins here, or even 3 wins here. They're going to look for a way to win this series. I think for the Phillies, they're just trying to keep the Braves at bay. And that mentality is going to play into the Braves' favor, in my opinion. I think that only helps Atlanta with their chances of doing some damage this series. Because if your goal is to just keep the other team at bay in the standings or whatever the case may be, or just try to stay ahead, as opposed to you're trying to win and you're trying to, go on and do something, I think that mentality is going to play into the favor of the Braves. Now, there's no doubt that on paper, the Phillies are going to be favored to win this series because their pitching is better. They're in their home ballpark, and it really plays to their favor. I will say, I think I wish we had another lefty pitching. I really do, right? Morton is great, but he's a right-handed hitter, or he's a right-handed pitcher. He's going up against a lot of big lefties, and Schwarber and Harper. That concerns me. Reynaldo Lopez is great, but he's same deal. Max Fried is great, but again, same deal. And you got Zach Wheeler on the other side. I'm sorry, Max Fried, I think, is going to be a chance to really win that game with the lefty, but he's going to have to go up against Zach Wheeler. Spencer Schwellenbach against Aaron Nola, that's concerning. So all in all, on paper, it doesn't shape up very well at all. But again, you look at the teams before this series takes place, and right now the Braves seem to be a completely different team than they were a month ago. They seem to be on the right track. They've won 5 series in a row, and that's really all you can ask for, right? And if they win this series, you're talking about a huge momentum shifter in the NL East. So we'll see what happens. This one, though, gets started tomorrow at 6:40 p.m. between the Braves and the Phillies in Philadelphia. It will be Charlie Morton taking on Christopher Sanchez in Game 1. So make sure to tune in. I'm really looking forward to this series. This one was circled on the calendar months ago, way back at the start of the season. So, it is what it is. But right now, if I'm picking anybody to win it, it's, of course, going to be Atlanta. And reasoning's pretty simple. They got the momentum. They look really good. They look complete for the first time this year. And I'll take my chances with the pitching staff coming out of a series where the offense scored 23 runs. So that's my reasoning. We'll see how it ages, but I'm looking forward to it. I know y'all are too. Speaking of y'all, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. And of course, with your Atlanta Braves, when we get back, we're going to go through all of your comments as quick as we can. Remember, super chats do get priority. They get you moved up to the front of the line. I know it's late. We're not going to be on here all night, but if you want to go ahead and get your questions in, Super Chats are the way to do it. They also really support the channel, and we really do appreciate them. So when we get back, we go through all of your comments, but remember to like and subscribe.
Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
Make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HDs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. I know it's super late, by the way. I appreciate you all being here. I had to get on. 5 series wins in a row, a sweep tonight against the first-place Twins. How could we not get on here and talk about it, right? There's no way we were going to do that. So appreciate you guys being here. Wouldn't be any good if you weren't here, so really do appreciate that. Yasuke Knight says, good win for the Braves. Scootapuff says, I know it's become something of a cliche, but we really are riding that 2021 underdog energy right now, right? We might just be those, we might just be those. Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of similarities to be drawn. I think there's obviously some of the same members on the team that have been there before and seen crazy things happen, and I think we're shaping up for that possibility once again. I will say that this time in 2021, I was actually really feeling good about the Braves' chances in the playoffs. I feel good about them now, but it's all about where are we going to be, right? Because in 2021, you didn't have this wild card set up like it is now. You didn't have any of that. You didn't have the Braves were even threatened to play in a wild card. They pretty much had the division locked up, mid to late September. You kind of knew that that's the way it was going. And of all teams we did it was against the Phillies. So little bit of differences, but all in all, I see the similarities more so. I will give you that. One Ron says, is the offense back? I've been a Braves fan since 1988 when I was a kid. I need to see a bit more consistency before I say we are back, but imagine the storyline if we get in the dance. Well, look, right? I mean, we've been waiting all year for the offense to heat up, right? Early in the year, the conversation was Ronald Acuna is just not doing the MVP things he needs to be doing, and Matt Olson looks cold, and Riley looks cold, and Sean Murphy was hurt, and all year long it's just been injury after injury after injury. I've argued that I don't think anybody's been able to outside of Marcell Ozuna been able to break out because there hasn't been a lot of consistency in the lineup. I mean, think about how much the lineup shifts day to day. And it's a completely different approach when you're the leadoff guy versus when you're, in the middle of the order. Michael Harris has missed substantial time. I think that's a factor. For Matt Olson specifically, we're starting to see him heat up. I think that's because he's starting to see better pitches, and it's because he has some protection in the lineup, right? Like Ramon Laureano hit behind him tonight, and he went, I think, 2 for 5 or something like that, maybe 1 for 5. Either way, let's throw it back to game 1. Matt Olson had d'Arnaud hitting behind him, which helped lead to a 3-5 game. Which again, it's not all about who's hitting behind you, but I definitely think having some consistency in the lineup has helped him. I also think he's probably made some adjustments, in his stance, in his swing, and that kind of thing to make him a little quicker and let him read pitches a little better. But I think that all in all, is the offense back? One series is not enough. This year, there's been 4 or 5 times that I've come on here and told you, the offense is back. It's back. This is what we've been waiting for. The truth of the matter is, I don't think we're really ever can expect 2023, right? Where you just have this unrelenting 6-month stretch of just ridiculousness offensively. But I think you can see short bursts of it. And when this team is healthy, I think you can expect anything. Problem is they're not all healthy. They've had to work differently. They've had to get accustomed to working differently. I definitely think Solaire's addition was a big boost, but I don't think it was everything. I think additions like Whit Merrifield, who had a 5-hit game, Gio Urshela, who defensively has been really good, Ramon Laureano, who has been a definitely a good utility guy, good fill-in guy, and really a good bat. He's had moments where he's looked really good. Now, defensively, I know there's been moments where he's looked really bad, but offensively, he's really been a stellar piece day in, day out in the lineup. I mean, when was the last time Duvall played? It's been a while, I think, right? Because we've added these guys who it's hard to take them out because they've just been that really that good. So, we'll see what happens, but I think where we are right now and where we were a month ago are two very different things. I really do have a lot of confidence going into this Phillies series. I think, I definitely think we're gonna split it. But if we can somehow win it, or if we could somehow sweep it, that would be amazing. And don't tell me it's not possible, because we just got done sweeping the Minnesota Twins, and we had their number. Offensively, especially. I don't think they're going to have to drag Matt Olson out by his ears. He's not going to want to leave Minnesota. He's looked really good at Minnesota. So all in all, I think that where we're at right now, heading into this series, it's tough to say the offense is back, but we're definitely playing with some mojo. I will definitely say that. We are playing like we belong here. And that has not been the case all year long. It's been the case in moments, but it has not been the case throughout 2024, especially like it was in 2023. Miguel says, "Hey Tyler, as a Braves fan, I feel a relief. Finally, our offense looks better without Kelenic and Duvall." I will say this: Kelenic and Duvall. I get the criticism, but Kelenic, I think, still has a future in a Braves uniform. I don't think he's necessarily gone. I think Duvall very well may be. I think he may play a limited role, and it's hard to argue with that. But those two guys have played really valuable roles this year, not only on the field but in the clubhouse. Duvall has given you really good defense. His bat has been subpar, but he's had stretches where it's been good too. I mean, to sit here and act like it hasn't been good all year is not true. But he definitely is not what he used to be, or at least has not been that this year. Jared Kelenic was an experiment, a cheap experiment, I should say, through a variety of trades that landed him in Atlanta. And I think he's really been able to come into his own as well. His stats may not look that great next to others on the team, but he had stretches where, he looked really good at the plate. And again, to act like he didn't at any point. I mean, there was one point where he looked really good and nobody else really did outside of Ozuna. And look, a 232 average, 13 homers, it's not going to jump off the page, but he was consistent. He had good at bats. He was an athletic player in the outfield for sure. He played a really good defensive outfielder. And his time in center field left a lot to be desired, but he doesn't play center field. It's like Soler, right? You get what you pay for in a way. But he was able to adjust. He was willing to do it, and it's a matter of, in my opinion, it's a matter of a situation that they fell in. Right, Duvall signed to the Braves for $3 million, which was a steal. I mentioned Kelenic came here under a variety of trades that landed him here for a steal. You can't be mad at Double-A for picking them, and even if they don't work out. I think Kelenic was better than you're giving him credit for, but I can also understand why you don't want him in, especially after what we've seen over the past couple of weeks with Urshela and with Whit Merrifield, especially Whit Merrifield. I can understand it, but I don't want to just crap on the guys that we've had because it's been a tough year for everybody. Look at Olsen and Riley. These are elite all-star level players, and they haven't exactly performed to their capability. So it's easy to point fingers and go, yeah, that guy's terrible, but it's been a whole lineup thing, man. Like, it's been up and down all year long. So in terms of Duvall, I agree with you, but I would also say that he was given a hand that, it's tough to be successful. And I still think that if you were to platoon Kelenic and Duvall, I think you'd have better success than putting them out there every day. The problem is they were unable to do that because of all the injuries. And you put Duvall up against nothing but lefties and Kelenic up against nothing but righties, I think you're going to see a lot of success there. But you put them up and they have to, do what they do against both sides, that I don't think it's going to be as successful. But, we'll see. I think Kelenic at minimum could be a really good defensive replacement. And a really good bat off the bench if needed for this year. I think Duvall could be that as well. Duvall at one time played Gold Glove level defense. I mean, he was a really good outfielder. He's lost a step, I won't lie to you, but he's still got something to offer, I believe. Miguel Frica, you also say, I almost got a heart attack when Jackson came in the 7th inning. He has to pay Olsen dinner tonight. I don't trust in Luke. So here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, on paper, Luke Jackson had him a scoreless inning tonight with 2 strikeouts, I believe. Joe Jimenez had a clean inning tonight with 3 strikeouts, I believe. So here's what I'm going to say. I got a call, I told you about it last week, from one of my buddies, and I hope my buddies are listening right now. It's late, so I don't know. But I got a call from him. Do you believe me about Joe Jimenez now? Look, he's terrible. He's terrible. He's the worst pitcher I've ever seen. And my response was this. Joe Jimenez is not perfect, right? I think he's still a really good reliever. Luke Jackson, you have reason to be concerned about. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The problem is, who else do we have, right? Last night, we threw 5 relievers out there, I believe including Jimenez. We threw 5 relievers last night. Luke Jackson was covering an inning because we don't want to waste all of our relievers prior to this series in Philadelphia, right? We were able to do it with minimum loss, right? Because you used tonight. Tonight you used Luke Jackson. I believe you only used him, Joe Jimenez, and Rysel. Yeah, so that's minimal. And the only reason they used Rysel probably with a 4-run lead was just because they used so many the night before, right? They won 8-6 in game 2 of the series, and they went to 11 innings or 10 innings or something? Yeah, 10 innings. So that's what I'm saying. After a night like that, you kind of have to explore your deeper members of your bullpen, and Luke Jackson is that. Now, that's not to say that I have full faith in Luke Jackson and his turnaround and all that. I don't. But you also have to give him credit where it's due. He had a walk, but all in all, scoreless inning, we'll take it. I mean, we'll take it. Series sweep, we'll take it. I don't care how we get it. That said, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Jackson was taken off the roster in a week. I just wouldn't be surprised. A lot of folks are talking about Tyler Matzik, so yeah, I guess I better talk about it. Look, I love Tyler Matzik. Tyler Matzik is still hurt. I really wish that he could play. The reason he's on waivers is so someone will pick him up and pay the rest of his salary that the Giants took over from the Jorge Soler trade, right? That was kind of helped offset the money that the Braves are going to pay Jorge Soler. He is a free agent at the end of the year, so the Braves could just not do it and leave a roster spot open, whether it be in the minors or the majors. They could just not do it, wait till next year to sign him if they want to, or wait till he's healthy and then do it. So there's a ways they can go about that, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think, and that's strictly because he's still injured. We don't know what he's going to be. The Braves gave him every opportunity to come back. They signed him when he was hurt after 2021 and 2022. They still signed him, so they believed in him, and it's kind of like Soroka in a way where you give a guy every chance you can, but at some point you got to move on. And the Braves, I believe they like Matzik. They love what he brought to the team in 2021, no doubt about it. They tried everything to make him successful following that season. But it's also a case where you can't continue to give a roster spot to somebody who hasn't pitched, more than, how much has he pitched this year? He's pitched in 11 games. He's pitched 10 innings this year. You can't give a roster spot to a guy who's pitched 10 innings this year, and his last appearance was in May. Literally. His last appearance was May 4th even, early May. So as much as I like him, he's been gone a long time. He's not going to pitch the rest of the year. We knew that when we traded him. And it wasn't like it was a get for the Giants. They're not going to be able to use him. It's like Kyle Wright and the Royals. The Royals know they're not going to be able to use Kyle Wright. That is a situation where you bring him in, you maybe try to extend him so you can use him the next year. We'll see what happens. Let's see. The Dixon Way. Let's go Braves. Okay, this series will decide who wins our division and an outside chance of being the number one seed in the National League. If we win the division, Snit will win Manager of the Year and Ozuna should be MVP. I don't disagree. The problem is the writers are probably not going to see it that way. The problem is you have a guy named Shohei Ohtani who just had a 40-40 season. Now, we can all debate how important a 40-40 season is, but only 6 players have done it. It is a big deal. I would say in the spirit of the award, Marcell Ozuna should win it. And the reason is, what does it mean to your team? If Marcell Ozuna was not on the Braves this year, was not there, just was hurt or was just inactive or whatever the case may be, if he was not there, where would the Braves be? More than likely 3rd in the division, maybe 4th. And that's not an over-exaggeration. I think that is legitimately where they would be. He has been absolutely phenomenal. There is no argument. I don't see them being successful if Marcell Ozuna had not been here. 37 homers, a 308 average, 98 RBIs. That is incredible. He is in the running for the Triple Crown. There is no doubt in my mind that Marcell Ozuna is the most valuable player according to the team he is on. There is no doubt in my mind. Again, the problem is going to be that people don't view the most valuable player that way. They view it in the sense of, what have you done this year? How does it compare to the other guy? Whether you play on the Miami Marlins or whether you play on the Los Angeles Dodgers. It doesn't matter who you play on. I believe that, it should be more along the lines of what I said earlier in what does it mean for your team. Now, that said, if a guy has the batting title and has, 40 homers and, Triple Crown even, and he's on the World Series team that would have won anyway because it's full of Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and, that kind of thing, the guy should probably win the MVP. But I also think that there's no doubt in my mind that without Marcell Ozuna, this would not be, I mean, the Braves would not be in the mix here. And to me, there's no doubt about it. Ozuna has 98 RBIs. For perspective, the Braves have 550. He has been almost a fifth of the Braves' total RBIs this year. I don't know if you guys know this or not. There's 9 guys in the lineup, so he's been that impactful. And it's not everything. Shohei will probably win the MVP because that's how writers work. I personally believe that Marcell Ozuna should win it. Now, in terms of manager of the year, I think you're right on the money. If they win the division with all of what they've had to deal with, yes, Snit should win it. And that's going to rile up everybody, right? Especially all the people that wanted him fired 2 weeks ago. It's going to rile them up. And that's okay. I don't really care. But I think the job Snit has done in rallying the team and keeping them focused and keeping them, not to say content, but keeping them okay with where they are at, but looking to do more, that is a difficult task when you have an injured list that long, right? It's tough. And the fact that he's been able to do it says a lot about who he is and says a lot about who this team is. Captain Spartan says, fun question. Congrats, you get a town built around you. What are... I'm not answering this. What are we talking about? 5 restaurants I would want in my town. The Varsity will definitely be on there. I'm not from Atlanta, so yeah, definitely the Varsity. God, 5. Jersey Mike Subs. I'm a big fan of that. I really don't know. Probably that Fox Bros barbecue that's in the stadium. I'm gonna go Yard House that's at the stadium, and I'm gonna go probably a sushi place, I guess. But I already have that here. The Dixon Way. The fact Marcell isn't top 2 in the MVP race is a crime and proves what you said is correct. MLB loves Shohei. Well, yeah, there's no doubt they love Shohei. If it had been anybody else gambling, I'm just going to put that out there. It is what it is. Jake Hobby says, big weekend for most of Georgia. Series with Philly and the UGA opener. Yeah, I won't be able to watch Saturday night's game. Well, I may be able to. We'll see. But I will be in Atlanta at noon for the Georgia Clemson game. I'll be covering that. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that. If you don't follow me on Instagram and Twitter, you might as well go follow me. There's the tag right there at Tyler Edmond TV. And remember, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. And of course, with your Atlanta Braves, we do content pretty much all year long, from spring training all the way to the end of the postseason. We're probably going to have some off-season content, working on that now, trying to plan some stuff and get that ready to go. But don't want to tell you something we're going to have, then we don't have it. So just be ready. An announcement of that will hopefully be made at some point. Let's see. Scroll down a little bit. A lot of folks in here tonight. Really appreciate you guys. Let's go to Scooter Puff. Don't worry about Olsen. He's hit more homers and Citizens Bank than any stadium that's not Oakland or Atlanta. That's pretty interesting. It is a bandbox, so I mean, Matty F. says, Braves have won every series against the Phillies this season so far, and that is because Snit has kept switching it up. I feel a series win. I do too. Oh, Captain, my captain, says, Kelnick has shown what he can do. He's still young and he has a lot of contract control. His ceiling is high. Completely agree. Jonathan says, what a birthday weekend. Happy birthday. Met Dale Murphy. Always a good thing to meet Dale Murphy. That's a signed helmet from Dale. We love Dale here. Oh, Captain, my captain, says, Jimenez has one bad game here and there, like all relievers do. None of them are perfect, but he's still miles better than most. No doubt about that. I think Jimenez is one of those that, it's a matter of how he's used when he's out there, and, just he's not going to have a great game every time. right? Nobody is going to have a great game every time. But it just so happens that Jimenez has been featured in some that have gone completely awry. And his bad day he had a really bad day about a month ago. And it's just a matter of, how he's used. And really, the bullpen has had to rely on him a lot more than normal. But, that is what it is. A lot of folks in here saying, go Dogs. The Dixon Way, hey Tyler, I would love to have you on our stream one day, maybe a playoff preview show. Yeah, I try to do as many as I can. Reach out to me on Twitter, that's the best way I can put it. If you don't have Twitter, reach out to me on Instagram, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty accessible that way. I try to do it, but my schedule during football season is nuts, just to be frank with you. For perspective, Saturday, I have to get up at like 8 a.m., go to Mercedes-Benz, be there for the game till, we'll call it 5, drive home, edit everything here, and then be ready for 11 p.m. newscast. So I got a lot to do. That said, that's every weekend during college football season. And Fridays are tough. So, yeah, we'll see what we can do. Link it up, and I'll do what I can for you. William Redmond, not my cousin Will, just Will, says, do you think the Braves should sign Tyler Matzik? I answered that one earlier. Do I think they should? That you asked it a different way, so I'm gonna play here. Look, I like Matzik a lot. There is a ball signed by him right there. We've interviewed him on the channel, him and Luke Jackson on the same day, which was really cool. It was right after the World Series. I like him a lot. I love what he did for the Braves back in the NLCS. I was there for Game 6. If there's a Matzik fan, my name is Tyler. I like Matzik on the mound. I like him as a person. He's always been really friendly with me. I've met him in the clubhouse since interviewing him as a member of the media, an official member of the media, which is a difference. He was the first person to welcome me when I walked in. I like Matzik a lot. That said, in terms of do I think we should pick him up this year? Probably not. And I'll tell you why. It's strictly because he can't do anything for us right now. If you get him on a minor league deal, I'm okay with that because then you have him there to talk to about an extension or whatever the case may be. I would imagine that he would probably take it because he'd probably like to remain in the Braves clubhouse and on a big league club. And the Braves are as good as any. So I imagine he'd take it. That said, I don't know what the Braves' plans are for him, if any. So in terms of would I do it, I would do it if it was a minor league deal, or I would just wait till next season and sign him in the offseason if I just wanted him back. But at this point, I also wouldn't blame the Braves if they cut their losses and moved on to bigger and better things, right? It's a matter of what they view Matzik as, right? Do they view him as damaged goods, or do they view him as somebody who could potentially come back and do well? And I'm not privy to that information. I wish I was, but I completely am in support of him. I would love for him to be successful again, and I hope that one day we see him, pitch for the Braves again, whether that be a regular season game or whether that be in Game 6 of the NLCS. I would love to see it again. Problem I think that he's going to run into is he hasn't had a complete season since 2021. I mean, he's been hurt here and there, on and off, a lot, and he's never quite been as high of a velocity. I've always wondered, did he hurt himself, during that stretch, because we used him quite a bit, a lot of stressful pitches. I don't know that information. I wish I did, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, Dixon just hit me up. Hato Mato, you're going to be the last question I answered tonight. Tyler Matzik may not pitch again. Injuries hurt him bad. I love Tyler. He is a gamer. Yep, completely agree. I think that's going to be it. Guys, just a reminder, please do like the video if you've enjoyed it. We really would appreciate it on your way out. Also, we have a lot of content that you may have missed on the channel. Go check out the Whit Merrifield Gio Urshela video. We dropped that earlier this week, so please go check that out. Really would appreciate it. And remember, if you have not subscribed, we do live streams like this all the time. We do video content. We do shorts, we do pretty much anything you like, we do. If you like the Braves, if you like baseball, even if you like the Phillies, God help you, we are a good channel for you to follow. We try to give you some informative takes without, making you lose brain cells. We try to give you a little bit of knowledge. And really, we just love to talk baseball. So please do consider subscribing. Also, follow me on social media if you have not already. There's the handle. Nope. No? Okay, it's not working. Well, at Tyler Redmond TV. I don't know why it's not working, but it's not working, and that's just phenomenal. So we'll see if we can get it to work here in a minute. But remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. There it is. Go check that out at Tyler Redmond TV. Really would appreciate that. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And remember, just as always, this is the best place you can watch anything Braves related. So we really do appreciate you. And with this channel would not be anything without you tuning in. So really do appreciate that. And one last thank you to our sponsor, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC. If you need a vehicle, they are the best place to go check it out. They're located in Opelika, Alabama, and you will not leave there with a smile. Or you will leave there with a smile. That I can assure you. It's late, guys. I'm sorry. Let's try that again. Go check out our friends at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. I promise, you will leave there with a smile. That said, guys, thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.